today from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 13, entitled The Behavior of a Perfect Person, Text 30. Prahlad Maharaj, who is the king of the Daityas, is in this chapter traveling around the world, seeking the association of saintly people. His father he had his armies travel around the world to find the same people, specifically to destroy them, to subjugate them. Anyone who was not willing to accept him as the supreme in their lives was his enemy. Everything was very black and white. There was little in between. Either you surrender to him, you do his will, you say what he wants you to say, you do what he wants you to do. If so, you become his friend. If at any time you decide to act independently of Hiranyakashipu, you become his enemy. And he had a very simple formula of how to deal with his enemies. Subjugate them, control them. If they have any inclination to act out of their control, they must be destroyed. So he slaughtered cows. He killed Brahmins. He destroyed ashrams, burned them with fire, desecrated them. Because he knew that devotion to Vishnu could empower people to rise above him. And therefore, his ultimate enemy was Vishnu. His brother Hiranyaksha had almost equal strength to him. No one dared to challenge Hiranyaksha. On behalf of his brother, Hiranyaksha was doing like a universal yatra. He was traveling from planet to planet. And wherever he went, either you surrender to Hiranyakashipu or you die. He either destroyed them or they surrendered. And no one can stand before him. He went to Varuna. Varuna said, "I'm an old man, I can't fight with you. But there is someone who wants to fight with you." And he directed him to Varahadev, who was Vishnu himself. When the Lord wants to humiliate someone, he really knows how to do it. Here is Hiranyaksha. He has Indra down to his knees. He has all the devatas on their knees just praising him, begging for mercy from him. The greatest warriors, the greatest devatas. And now here he is fighting with, of all people, a boar, which is a wild pig. Yes. And although he has his mighty weapons and his armor, he's ultimately killed by the hoof of a boar. Yes? Now, if you understand he's Vishnu, then it's glorious. But if you're an atheist like Hiranyaksha and his colleagues, not a very glorious death. It's like in World War II, perhaps the most heroic, one of definitely the greatest, most heroic generals of the American Army. He was a person who actually went in the front lines with the soldiers and fought some of the most bloody battles. And he helped to lead victory in World War II in some of the worst battles. Risked his life constantly. And after they won the war, he went on a hunting excursion just for fun, and accidentally his gun went off and shot him and he died. Hare Krishna. Not a very glorious death for a Kshatriya. So Hiranyaksha was killed by this boar. Now Hiranyakashipu understood this is Vishnu. He is the only person that could stop me. And Hiranyakashipu understood the scriptures. He was a learned scholar. He was a mystic yogi. He had everything except devotion. We read where he's preaching to his relatives after Hiranyaksha died. He's speaking very, very powerful philosophy. In fact, even great acharyas to this day, millions of years later, quote him. They tell the same stories he tells. Because it was just so shastric, it was so precise, it was so logical, it was so real about the difference between the body and the soul. So he knew that if you perform yajna, this is in Satyuga, if you do meditation, if you perform yajna, you attract Vishnu's powers. So what did he do? He made law. No yajna, no meditation, no pious activities. He was so powerful. He had so much control over the universe that he actually was changing the laws of karma. Where if you do sinful activities, you get rewarded with good results, and if you do pious activities, you have to suffer miserably. This was his intention. And he really believed he could do it. So much arrogance. So yes, he and his armies were hunting for saintly person to either make them surrender or die. And here is his son Prahlad roaming around the world looking for the same saintly people with the desire to surrender to them, to learn from them, to be blessed by them. Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu are very, very personified in the contrast between material consciousness and spiritual consciousness. They are both epitomes of the principle. Hiranyakashipu, I am the controller, everything is mine. I am independent. And Prahlad, I am nothing. I'm just the insignificant servant of the servant of the servant of my Guru Maharaj. Nothing is mine, everything is Krishna's. And I'm simply his servant. servant of the servant of his servants. And when we evaluate our own life and we inspect our own motivations, we can see, are they leaning toward Hiranyakashipu's side or Prahlad's side? Hiranyakashipu wanted to destroy his enemies. Prahlad wanted his enemies to get liberation. Hiranyakashipu was not respectful to anyone. Prahlad was respectful to everyone. Hiranyakashipu always boasted that I am the doer. Prahlad gave all credit to his guru and Krishna, never took any credit for anything, even when he was king. Hiranyakashipu wanted to show his might in front of others, his intelligence, his strength, his abilities, his accomplishments. Prahlad just wanted to glorify others and seek their blessing. So every one of our actions, every one of our decisions is either going to be leaning toward Hiranyakashipu's side or Prahlad's side. A devotee takes Prahlad, mahajano yena gatasapani, follows in the footsteps of mahajans like Prahlad. There's a beautiful purport where Srila Prabhupada explains that every class of human beings has their own set of mahajans that they are following in the footsteps of. There are Bollywood mahajans. There are cricket player mahajans. There are scientist mahajans. There are industrialist and businessmen mahajans. There are politician mahajans. Mahatsevam dwaram ahurva muktes tamodwaram yoshita sangvisangam. We follow in the footsteps of saintly people. The doors to liberation are open. If we just seek out the association and want to serve great souls, the doors to the highest perfections are open wide. But if we seek the association or try to follow the lead or the example of materialistic people, then we glide down into ignorance. It is inevitable. In many ways, everything about our destiny is very much determined by who we model our lives after. Everyone models their life after someone or some people. We could be devotees, and we could be very proud of being devotees. But we may very much be inclined toward the spirit of Hiranyakashipu. You can be a temple president. You could be a Sankirtan leader. You could be a GBC. You could be a guru. You could be anything. If you want to control, that is Hiranyakashipu's move. If you want to control with your false ego, Prahlad, he was king. As a king, he had to control. But he always did it in a spirit of real, genuine service. So here is Prahlad, the great king, traveling around, looking for saintly people. And if you're really looking for something, then you can recognize it when it comes. If you're sincere. Krishna reveals according to our consciousness. Jejatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyam. As you surrender to me, I reveal myself accordingly. That means Krishna is speaking about how he reveals himself accordingly personally and directly, but also through others and through material nature. If you're surrendering to Krishna, you see Krishna everywhere. You see Krishna teaching you a good lesson of how to be a devotee everywhere. And if you're seeking something else, your own ulterior motives, your own agenda, then you're going to see that. So Prahlad was really looking for saintly people. Therefore, Krishna was revealing in his heart who saintly people really were. And the most strange type of person he happened to come upon. This person who was just laying, practically naked, just laying on the ground, covered with dirt and dust. It looked like he hadn't even stood up in a long time. And he was just laying there, like an animal. Now, most political people would say, why don't you get a job? You're young, you're strong, you're wasting your life just laying there. Hare Krishna. But Prahlad, he was looking for a saintly person, and therefore he detected something. He's laying on the ground. He doesn't even get up to look for something to eat. Whether it's raining or snowing or whatever's happening, he doesn't even get up to find a covering for himself. I mean, some people, they detach themselves from the world and they live in a cave to protect themselves from the burning sun, from the rains, from the elements. But this person didn't even go into a cave. He just laid on the ground. Whatever happened, didn't matter. Now, from a material perspective, he was the ultimate example of a lazy man. Yes? But Prahlad detected that he was kind of heavy set. He wasn't skinny. He was a little fatty. Now, most of us, we would just think a lazy person, by his actions. But he saw the fact that he's a little fatty means Krishna's providing for him, even despite him just laying here all the time. So he must be a saintly person. That was his logical deduction. Because he was looking for saintly people, Krishna was revealing who was saintly to him. Many examples. Shukadev Goswami, he was the topmost saintly person. When he was wandering through the forest, people thought he was a madman. Young children were making fun of him. They were throwing things up at him. They were ridiculing him. They were just criticizing him. They thought he was a joke. Yes? Because they weren't looking for a saintly person. They were in the bodily concept. They saw him in the bodily concept, and they just had no respect at all. But as soon as he came to the bank of the Ganga, all the greatest saints and rishis from the universe were assembled. They all stood up and honored him. Because these men were looking for the essence. They were saragrahi. So what you're looking for, Krishna reveals to you everywhere. If you really want to find fault in someone, Krishna's going to reveal faults that aren't even there. If you want to believe something, even if there's no evidence at all, you'll believe it because you want to. Shishupal, he wasn't just manufacturing criticisms of Krishna. he was actually seeing these things. He actually believed it. Yes, he really believed that Krishna was I can't even say what he was believing. He believed that Krishna was really a bad person. And he was constantly extolling Krishna's faults. And the amazing thing is all those people around Shishupal were convinced of everything he said. It's not that they were thinking, oh, this Shishupal just has some kind of an ego trip, or this Shishupal, he's in Maya. His associates believed him. He convinced all of them about Krishna's faults. Even other kings that were willing to fight with him against Krishna. So this is the principle. You'll see the eyes through the lens of your motivations. Everyone sees the world differently. Yes? Like in Kashmir, there's so much conflict. Now, Indian Hindus are seeing through a certain lens, but then the Islamic extremists are seeing through another lens. And I don't believe they're just thinking we're just making these things up. They believe these things. They see these things. Who's right? Yes. Second World War, the people who were fighting under Hitler really believed what he was saying is true. He believed that certain minorities were so dangerous to the earth that they must be killed. And they were killing them by the millions. But other people didn't see, they saw exactly the opposite. It was cold-blooded murder. But they were seeing that it was just a necessary ecological, social purification. That's what they were thinking. The caste Brahmins, they really thought that Haridas Thakur was just a malecha that was destroying the Vedic culture by his actions. They really believed it. Many of them. Whereas the Vaishnavas and the innocent people, they saw him as the greatest saint, the very crest jewel of the Vedic culture. So very much we see things according to our conditioning, according to our motives. So Prahlad is humbly inquiring from this Avaduta about the truths about the highest truths of life. And here the Avaduta is explaining how, in his observation of the world, the living entity tries to achieve happiness and rid himself of the causes of distress, but because of the various bodies of the living entities are under the full control of material nature, all his plans in different bodies, one after another, are ultimately baffled. Many years before, Sri Prahlad Maharaj spoke the same principle in his prayers. So people are, due to Maya Sukhaya, due to being under the influence of Maya, they are making so many grand plans to try to alleviate distress and solve problems, But unless they understand how things really work, the solutions that they create bigger problems than the original problem. And what a prophecy that was. Look at the world today. Nobody knows what to do with the problems we've created. And they're all created by the manufacturing of things that we enjoy and that we feel are solutions to problems. Yes? Wars over oil, and what to speak of what the future will be if we don't change our consciousness. A whole economic situation is based on oil. Oil is becoming scarcer. You have to dig deeper because it's not so easy to get. At one time, America had so much oil. Now so much of it has been exhausted. Now they're depending on the Middle East. And the Middle East, they have their own ideologies. Dependent. Otherwise, economic collapse. And in the process of consuming all these oils, the sky is being polluted, the oceans, the rivers, the lakes, the land. So global warming. Very difficult. How to solve a problem like this? All because, we wanted, instead of lighting a lantern, we wanted to solve the problem and just make a switch and the lights go on. Instead of riding an ox cart, we wanted a tractor. Solve the problem. But actually with the ox carts, everyone was living pretty peaceful lives. Now, so many cars, so many people jamming into the trains, people evacuating the villages and coming to cities. 15 million people in this city of Bombay. And it was probably designed for about 1 million. And now, their progress is just building one bridge on top of another. No matter how many bridges or flyovers, they call them flyovers, but I don't see anybody flying over. During the rush hours, they're crawlovers. People are just crawling over them. I have seen. We have these big Mercedes, BMWs, Toyotas, Hindustani motor vehicles with big engines. And I see during the traffic, the rats are moving faster than us. We're sitting with the horn. And the rats are smiling, going, very difficult. So much anxiety suddenly. Just breathing in this city is like smoking 2 packages of cigarettes every day, according to health surveys. So much health problems, everything else. Prahlad Maharaj was correct. That the solutions we make to problems, if they are not in perspective of the holistic truth, the tattvas of what is the jiva, what is the paramatma, and what is prakriti, what is material nature. Unless we understand these principles and how they work with one another, then all of our so-called solutions become serious problems. So here the Avadhuta is explaining how, well, Prahlad, he spoke the same thing. Now interesting, this Avadhuta is basically saying exactly the same thing that Prahlad said when he was 5 years old. Now just see the quality of Prahlad. Prahlad didn't tell him after hearing this, I already know that. Just, look a few chapters earlier in the Bhagavatam, and I already said the same thing. I know these things. In fact, I said it even better than you. More people quote me than you. But this is the nature of a great soul. Even though he knows it, he's eager to hear. Eager to hear. If a new devotee tells us, is giving a class and a senior devotee's there, and the new devotee says, you're not this body, dehinosmin yatha dehe. Some people will sit there and think, I know that. In fact, I taught him that when he was a bhakta. But Srila Prabhupada would sit and ask his own disciples to give class. And they would say, Dehinosmin yatha dehe, and Prabhupada was, yes, this is very important. He was eager to hear. Because it's Krishna's words, it's the truth. He was eager to hear from his own disciples. There are stories where new devotees who were just devotees for a couple months, Prabhupada would say, you give class. And he would really enjoy listening to their class. This is the quality of a great personality. Yes, we're eager for the truth. But the false ego gets in the way. Great souls are great according to how they conquer the false ego. So Prahlad is hearing the same things that he heard from his guru, the same things that he spoke when he was just a little child. Now he's an adult, as a king. But he's listening attentively, and he's feeling himself being enlightened and purified by hearing this message. Why? Because he was looking for Krishna. He was looking for truth, and therefore he was finding it. And it was exciting, it was stimulating, it was ecstatic. He wasn't looking to prove himself. He was not the center. Krishna was the center. When Krishna becomes the center, everything becomes extraordinary. When we make ourselves the center, we just block so many opportunities, which are always coming. So what does it mean to be a Vaishnava? These are some of the qualities that are fundamental, foundational to being a Vaishnava. So yes, the basis of material existence is spoken in this one little verse. People are trying to alleviate the cause of distress, and trying to seek happiness. Through means without understanding how material nature is working. And therefore, they are baffled again and again and again. Everyone is baffled. Daiviheshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamaivam yepapadyante mayam etatarantite. Krishna tells it so clearly. This material nature, which is constituted by these three modes of nature, the gunas, is very difficult to overcome. Sattvaguna, Rajaguna, Tamaguna, activated by time, are so powerful. Maya is the Lord's external potency. Just as Srimati Radharani, the internal potency, the pleasure potency, conquers Krishna. Yes, we read about how Srimati Radharani conquers Krishna by the power of her love. She is the pleasure potency of the internal power of the Lord. Well, she is manifested in material nature as Maya. I mean, if she has the power to conquer Krishna, what is our position? Mamaivam so jiva loke jiva bhuta sanata. We're just infinitesimal little sparks of Krishna. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yovadadati kaman. That there is one supreme and there are unlimited eternals, eternal souls, and they are always subordinate to the one supreme soul. So when the spiritual energy conquers Krishna, who is the controller of all controllers, Mahavishnu is, just by exhaling, the entire cosmic manifestation comes. And then he inhales, everything is destroyed. Now who can control him? And he's doing all of it in Yoga Nidra. He's in a divine sleep state. Now what do you accomplish when you sleep? Amazing. And the cause of Mahavishnu, the cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam, is Krishna. And he's conquered by the love of Sri Radha, the internal pleasure potency, Ladini Shakti. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed to Parvati, you are my Maya, you are the Maya energy, you are Radharani in this field of material energy. So if this energy can conquer Krishna, what is our position? Therefore, Krishna tells, he is never under the influence of Maya. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacha. He's always on the spiritual platform, supreme. This material nature is working under my direction. And therefore, unless you surrender to me, you will be baffled. You will be defeated in due course of time. And Maya is so expert. If she really wants to defeat you, she'll make you think that you're winning. Yes? That's what she does. It's like these gambling houses, the casinos in Las Vegas and Reno and all these places, Atlantic City. They are the people who run them when they see someone winning a lot of money, which means they're winning money from them, they're happy. They're actually really excited when they see someone winning money, because they know that the odds are always in their favor. That's the way the whole gambling house is built. The odds are always in their favor. They cannot lose. It's set up that way. And the more you win, the more you become addicted to the intoxicating experience of winning. Something cheap and quick. It's really a sense gratification. It's an intense sense gratification. Just winning a lot, quick and easy. You just put your money down and someone, throws a ball on a wheel and all of a sudden it stops and you have $100,000. May have taken you years to make that, just struggling in the marketplace and working. Yes? But the taste of that, Maya, it's the mode of passion. It's Rajaguna. That's really what's happening. Rajaguna is, as you win, you're just being devoured by Rajaguna. And then you're addicted to that. I won once, that means I could win again. Yes? And then you win a second time. And then you win a third time. And then you lose. And you think, I've won 3 times. Then you lose 100 times. But you're still thinking, well, I won 3 times. Until you lose everything. So they like to see you win. It's like a fisherman. The fisherman likes to see the fish eating the worm and thinking. And then the fish starts, after eating the worm, somebody saying, there's a hook in there and everything. He says, well, look, I'm swimming away. He can't get me. And he's swimming away, swimming away, swimming away. Saying, see, I ate it and I'm still swimming away. Why should I listen to these Hare Krishna people? And the more he swims away, the fisherman's happier, because as he's swimming away, he's swallowing deeper, 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 till it's really deep. And then when it's really deep and the fish really thinks, I got away with it, then it's finished. So that's what happens. Material nature, we try to enjoy, we become addicted to that enjoyment, and then we become trapped. We try to solve our problems, but in the process, we're cast into a fever of material entanglement. Now we're talking about gambling houses, but factually, the entire material existence is created exactly the same way. Gambling houses, I don't advise you go there. You could just listen. And the good ones, it's not like a sleazy, dirty place with all these guys with, long mustaches and greasy hair just going, They spend billions of dollars on these rooms. They're the most beautiful places you can imagine. They have wonderful chandeliers and marble walls and gold leaf columns, and people are dressed really nice. You can't go in unless you're dressed really, really nice, and the good ones. And ladies are in nightgowns, and they have their little glasses, and the men are famous people all over the world you'll see there. It really looks prestigious. Very extremely opulent. Some of the most opulent places in the world. They put more money on making casinos opulent than they do temples and churches. Yes? So you go in and you think, God, this is high class. This is wonderful. Just see everything about it. The music playing,